Hey everyone, going to be working on some squatting exercises today. Mostly just low back, leg kind of stuff. So feel free to follow along. You'll need a ball. You might need a yoga strap, maybe a block. I haven't decided if I want to do those things or not. Just a little bit of floor space. So if you have a beastie ball or a spiky ball, you can use that instead of the normal ball. So feel free to follow along. So first what we're gonna do is we are going to roll out, well, I'm not gonna roll out anything, to be serious. We're gonna take the ball and we're gonna find that spot on our glute. We're gonna pop it right in there and then we're gonna push that up against the wall. And then from there, we're going to externally rotate this leg. So you want to make sure that you are not, well, first you want to make sure that you're getting a spot that's, hitting some muscles and not just being held on the wall. So find that spot of the most tension in your glute and then start to externally rotate the leg. And what you should be able to feel is that leg bone moving in the pelvis a little bit more than you would normally be able to do just letting this go here. So what we're doing is we're letting the ball, using the ball to raise awareness of what's happening in our haunch. So, ball goes in, just externally rotating, and then bringing the foot back. So external rotation happens from the top of the hip and then moves down the leg. So a lot of us like to just move the foot like this, and that's a different motion than the whole leg moving. And then another thing that we want to be aware of is that the whole hip isn't moving like this, right? This is a very different motion. This is no longer the leg bone moving in the pelvis. This is the pelvis moving, okay? And that's a very different motion. So what happens if that does happen to you, even if it's just a little bit, is you just want to move that leg in a range where this other side doesn't pop out. So for me, it's about here. And then once you've done that enough times and you're just tired of this, placing the foot down and then just bending that knee and coming back. And bending that knee and coming back. Notice what you notice in the leg. My pillow out of the way. There we go. And again here, you might notice that the hip lifts up. If that does happen, don't bend the knee as much. A soft, supple motion. You want just this leg moving. Good. Let's come into the other side. So now that I've explained how to do it on this side, I'm going to do a couple breathing exercises on this side. So that way we can unleash our chi, or however it is. So, finding a nice comfy spot for the ball to go on. We're just going to start by externally rotating that leg out and in. And bringing your awareness into the breath as you do this, rotating the leg out and in. Noticing how the body feels on the inhalation and on the exhalation. Noticing again if the opposite hip is trying to come forward. And just rotating that leg in a range of motion where the hips do not get active. My hip try popping out there. Good. Coming back to the breath. And then externally rotating that foot and holding it there, just bending through the knee and straightening the leg. Bending through the leg and straightening. And straightening. This side's a little trickier for me. My hip likes to get involved here, so I have to pay a little bit more attention. One side always needs a little bit more love. If we were perfectly balanced, we'd be boring. off the wall completely. Just coming off to stand. Just notice how you feel. Take a deep breath in if you'd like. And exhale. Just notice what you notice in your body. I feel like my feet are more connected to the earth, the floor. Now I feel like my weight is distributed a little bit more evenly, and I feel as though there is more space in, mostly in my glutes and in my hips. So, from that point, you can go ahead and put your ball away. And then actually that's not where that goes. I've reorganized. And I have to get used to new habits. So let me move this back a little bit more. So take a wide-ish stance, not this far apart, a little bit more than hip width. And you're just going to externally rotate one leg, similar to how you did on the wall. Now, same thing here. You don't want your hips rotating this way, and you may notice without the ball there to help you and to press into whichever side you're moving, your hips may want to move a little bit more. So just notice, if you only move this far, you only move this far. If you only move an inch, you only move an inch. So go as far as you can. Good, and you also don't want to brace. You don't want to hold anything in. So you want to let things move freely. So if you notice yourself tightening up and squeezing everything in order to facilitate motion, it's probably not the best way to go about doing this. So just be easy with it. Rotating the leg open. And then from here, we'll do the same thing, except we're going to go a little bit further into these bends. Good. So it's okay if the body sways this way. What we don't want to happen is this, or, no, I think that's really, or, just more of this motion. Because those are completely different motions that we're working on. So that comes down. Then if you want a little bit more oomph in this, put your hand on the outside of the right leg, pushing the thigh into the hand. Don't push the hand in. We're looking at getting the leg open. Open. You also don't want to push from the knee. It's a very different sensation as well. You want to be pushing from the middle of the thigh because that's going to activate a little bit more from the top of the chain in the glute. Good. And then if you want to come up into more like Warrior 2 kind of arms, you can bring the arms up like this and then let them come out. Looking and seeing what happens with the shoulders. The shoulders hike up, maybe not this high. Just come into this kind of motion. And just see if you can bring the arms down. If you can bring the arms straight up like this, perfect. But if you notice any raising or any more twisting, just bring the arms down or come up here. And just notice what you notice. I like the sensation of my leg pushing into my hand, so I'm coming back down here. I guess I can bring the back arm up. If you want to, from this point, you're going to straighten that leg. And we're going to play a little bit with this motion. Now this is a good hammy kind of stretch. And so what we want to have is that external rotation in the front leg. So we're still externally rotating. Make sure that the knee isn't caving in as you come forward. So just holding on to that external rotation of the leg as you just move the hips forward and back. Again, we don't want this to happen. It's a different motion. Just because we can do something doesn't mean we should. Yeah, I'm wiggling a little bit in my hips. So I'm going to make this motion a little bit smaller. also want to make sure that you're not just moving from the rib cage, right? A lot of us keep our pelvis steady, and we make all this motion happen from up here. Imagine that all of this is connected. Good. Bringing that leg forward and coming into the opposite side. So just playing with that external rotation of this leg. Again, one side's going to be different from the other. This side may be better or worse for you. And it's important to realize that there really isn't a better or worse. There's just how you are right now. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just movement. My buddy Aries says, you're just moving, it's not morality. And then holding that position in that external rotation, even if you're just right here. You can even bend that knee just a little bit, not too much, particularly if you're not moving into a fully externally rotated position. And you can still put that hand on the outside of the thigh. Move the leg like this. I am going to continue, though, with that more external rotation. I'm just bending the knee. So you're maybe wondering, Austin, you said you were working on squats at the beginning of the video. I did. I absolutely did. And the reason I'm working on all the external rotation is because all of those muscles that help to facilitate the stability of a squat are involved in lifting you up and helping you drop down. So by stimulating those muscles and getting them to wake up first is going to be helpful in the squat. So for whatever reason, my body just doesn't respond well to squats. So I have to do a lot of prep work in order to get to that point. And so again, with the knee bent, you can hold it there, and then you can bring the arms up. If your shoulders lift up, bring the arms up into a cowboy surrender, or, NFL goal kind of pose. Or if you would like, you may keep your hand on your thigh, pressing the thigh into the hand, with one arm behind you. This is kind of fun. And taking a moment and checking in with your breath. Noticing where the mind jumps to. See if you can pull yourself to the sensation of your feet pressing into the floor. It's not about forcing your feet into the ground. It's noticing if you notice that sensation. And then straightening the leg. Hands can come to the hips as we start to rotate tilt over the extended leg. And again, if you noticed, I led the top of the motion with my rib cage. So we want all of this coming from down here, right? The motion starts here. This is where the angle is coming into triangle. Right? Little pendulum swings, and just notice what this does to your leg. Noticing if the hips are swinging forward and just moving in a range where that doesn't happen. So if you move this far, you move this far. Nothing is wrong with that. Listen to your body. Your body is the best guide you can have. But Austin, how will I get better if I don't force myself into something? Yeah, that's true. You can try that. My response to that is, how often does forcing your friends into doing something they don't want to do work out for you? Your body's the same way. If you listen to it and respond to it, and if you meet your body where your body is at, you're gonna get better results. Because then your body's on your side. And you're not fighting this tug of war between your mind and where you think you want to be and where your body is. So, shaking things out. Just coming into standing, notice how you feel. Taking a couple deep breaths. Notice how you're standing. Do you feel any different? Are you breathing differently? So now getting into the meat and the potatoes of this. Let me tilt this down just a little. Can I do that? Yes, I can. Tilting this down just a little bit. So we want to do another glute opening kind of exercise. So coming down onto all fours. And we're going to take one leg and we're going to bring it back behind the other knee. So that way, kind of like this. You can spread the feet out wide if you can. If this is uncomfortable for you, don't do it. And that goes with anything. If anything is uncomfortable for you and your body is shouting no, don't do it. It's okay. So from here, you're just going to send your hips back. You're going to come forward. Back. And forward. And back. And forward. Your knees will come off the ground. That's okay. What you want to look out for is if your hips start swaying and rotating in one direction or the other. You want your hips to come straight back. This should be, you may feel some sensation in your glute, you may not. It's all just movement, and how we feel it is different. You know, it's like the weather. We all respond to it differently. There's some general consensus about it. But for the most part, we all have different ideas of what feels good. And then bringing that leg forward again. And then taking the opposite leg, wrapping it back. Spreading the feet wide. And bring the hips down. If you'd like to synchronize this with the breath, feel free to. Now, I think, and I'm going to use this other mirror that I have, I think my hip likes to pop up here, so I'm only going to stop about here. I'm just going to go forward and back here. Just working in a range that my body says, this is okay. Okay, George. And coming back into a neutral position. So, from here, I may have to realign some things. No, I think we can probably make this work. Actually, let me come up against the wall so that way the camera can get all of this. So, what we're going to do is we are going to do a squat but on the floor. We're going to do it by being on all fours. So basically, you're going to start off in a plank, like this. Okay? And then you're going to let the knees come down as you let the hips come back. You're just going to do this a couple times. And now for those of you who are used to going from plank to downward dog, make sure you're not lifting up through the hips. So it's kind of tricky because muscle memory likes to do that. So bending through the knees. You can even let the knees come down to the ground if you want a couple times, just to get into this sensation And then just let the knees hover. And again, if you notice any pain, any sensations in the knees or in the low back, feel free to stop. Just notice what your body does as you do this. I've got a lot of pops and crinkles in my hips. Good. Just come back up to standing. Take a breath or two. Notice how you feel. So we're going to do the same thing that we just did, except we're going to walk the hands back this time. So, hands start off like this, and then you're going to walk the hands back. So now you're in a squat. Lift the arms up, and come back down. Walk out. Hands come back. Coming down into a squat, flat on the feet. Arms come up. And then back down, walking out. And back. Coming down into a squat. Arms come up. Arms come down, walking out. Pushing forward. Then stepping back. Arms come up. And so from here, lifting up and squatting down. And you can have your hands wherever you want here. I keep bumping into my foam roller. Step forward. Yeah, and then just taking a couple squats here. You can bring the arms forward like this if you would like. I can't keep my arms over my head because my ceilings are short. So, we're just noticing what you notice here. Breathing and synchronizing with the breath. Good. And so that's a little squat routine that you can do just to kind of open up and mobilize a little bit in the hips and get some better mobility and how to get into a deeper squat. So let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to shoot me a DM, and I'll see y'all later.